On this day in 1968, Jimmy Johnstone destroyed Red Star Belgrade in the second round of the European Cup and left the field in tears. You don't get to be voted Celtic's greatest ever player without turning in many great performances over a number of years. But many who were there claimed that Jimmy Johnstone's display against Red Star Belgrade on the 13th of November 1968 was the greatest they ever saw. Celtic disposed of Saint-Étienne in the first round of the European Cup of 1968-69, but were then handed a difficult task in Red Star Belgrade, whose team included 6 Yugoslav internationalists. No one was under any illusions about their ability, and Glyn Edwards wrote in the Glasgow Herald that morning, "In winning the Yugoslav Championship, Red Star finished ahead of such teams as Dynamo Zagreb and Vojvodina, and this in itself is a clear indication of their strength. For Dynamo, winners of the 1966-67 First Cities Cup, beat Celtic last year in a friendly match at Parkhead, and Vojvodina lost only 1-2 to Celtic in their European Cup winning season, and by the same margin to Rangers in the current Fairs Cup competition, on both occasions after having won their home leg. Add to this the fact that Red Star are the present holders of the Mitropa and Marshal Tito Cups, have lost only one of their 13 league matches this season, and, like Celtic, are always strongly represented in their national team, and one need not dwell further on their capabilities." Celtic's only injury worry was over Ronnie Simpson, who had a heavily bruised thigh after playing for Scotland in their 2-1 win over Austria the week before. He declared himself fit, but with Johnstone taking no chances, John Fallon was in goal as they lined up. Fallon, Craig, Gemmell, Murdoch, McNeil, Brogan, Johnston, Wallace, Chalmers, Lennox, Hughes. Subs, Simpson, O'Neill, Clark, Auld, Connolly. In front of a near 70,000 crowd, Celtic scored after just 3 minutes, Bobby Murdoch playing a 1-2 with Johnstone before smashing a spectacular long-range shot past the bewildered keeper. Any thoughts that this would become a procession were quickly dispelled, when instead of folding under the pressure and the noise of a raucous crowd, Red Star began to play their way into the match, keeping possession for long spells and quickly closing Celtic down when required. Frustration began to set in as the half progressed. The Glasgow Herald reported on the 14th of November 1968. With half an hour played, most of the gloss had gone off Celtic's performance, mainly because the Yugoslavs had recovered from their early setback and were settling to a rhythmical game. It appeared that their weakness was in finishing, but one had cause to revise that opinion after 39 minutes play. In a breakaway on the left flank, Asimovic scythed his way through indecisive Celtic defenders, evaded 2 desperate tackles and laid the ball on for Lazarevic to equalise. Celtic were in trouble. The 3 inside forwards, Wallace, Chalmers and Lennox, had barely been seen. Red Star were comfortably tying Celtic down in midfield, and a precious away goal had been conceded. During the interval, Johnstone reminded Jimmy Johnstone of a deal they had struck a few days before, when passports and visas were being sorted for the journey to Belgrade for the return leg. Johnstone had a genuine phobia of flying, and Gerald McNee recounts in his The Story of Celtic, published in 1978, that Jinky would drive his family to the continent for their summer holidays rather than fly. Steen promised him that if Celtic won the first leg by 4 goals, he would not have to go to Yugoslavia. Reassured at half-time that Steen was serious, Jinky went out for the second half and turned the game upside down. It took Johnstone just 3 minutes to shoot Celtic back into the lead, firing home at the back post from Bobby Murdoch's free kick. 3 minutes later, he laid the ball on a plate for Bobby Lennox to prod home Celtic's third goal, and with Celtic now attacking relentlessly, another devastating run and cutback from Jinky saw Willie Wallace make it 4-1 with 15 minutes remaining. Johnstone was demanding the ball constantly, and Murdoch was only too happy to keep him supplied as he tore Red Star apart. The back page of the Evening Times of the 14th of November was headlined, "Johnstone the Tornado," and in his match review, Ger Henderson wrote, "Words run badly short when it comes to describing this individual performance. This was the night in which he could beat half a team in one run. This was the night on which he produced every one of his known conjuring tricks, and a few more that the public did not know he had up his sleeve. It was the night on which he scored 2 great goals off his own bat and had a foot in the moves that helped his colleagues to grab the other 3. There was but one word for Johnstone on this occasion: incredible. As the match entered its last 10 minutes, with Celtic only the 3 goals to the good, Johnstone set the seal on the performance himself, picking up the ball just inside the Red Star half, slaloming past 4 defenders into the box and finishing calmly past the keeper. As teammates rushed to him to celebrate, they were bemused to find Jinky in a tear-filled daze, saying over and over, "I don't need to go." That same night, in the Intercities Fairs Cup, Joe McBride scored a hat-trick in Hibernian's 3-1 win over Lokomotiv Leipzig. 16-year-old Alfie Conn replaced Alex Ferguson in Rangers' 3-0 win over Dundalk to become the youngest player ever to appear in a European match. And in the European Cup Winners' Cup, Dunfermline beat Olympiacos 4-0 at East End Park. But they were all overshadowed by Jimmy Johnstone. Ger Henderson wrote, "Parkhead has seen many a night of European glory, the great 4-0 revival against Saint Etienne, for instance, but never one like this second half. For sheer concentrated effort, for willpower, and for the brilliance of Jimmy Johnstone, the greatest outside right of them all, this beat everything."